Hello and welcome again to Rewind. I'm Laura Kyle. In this series, we're revisiting some of the best documentaries on Al Jazeera English since we launched more than a decade ago. Back in 2013, the People and Power series travelled to West Africa to expose the shocking story of how young Ghanaian children were being murdered because of the mistaken belief they were possessed by evil spirits. No one knows the exact numbers of these ritual deaths across Ghana, Benin, Burkina Faso and parts of Nigeria, but some believe it could be in the thousands. The killing of these so-called spirit children is the consequence of ancient customs shaped by ignorance and poverty. In this compelling programme, award-winning Ghanaian investigative reporter Arimeyaw Anas used hidden cameras to bring some of those behind these killings to justice. From 2013, here's Spirit Child.
Some West African communities have branded children born deformed or with disabilities as evil spirits. They are seen as a drain on limited resources, and so medicine men are often asked to perform rituals and prepare poisonous concoctions to kill them. Thousands of defenseless children have been murdered in this way. My name is Arimeyaw Anas. I'm an investigative reporter. Because of the work I do, I never show my face. I've come to northern Ghana to investigate this spirit child phenomenon. Food is scarce here. Even children must work for the family to eat. Now the long dry season has come. Whole families are moving to the big city looking for work or to sell their animals. Living on the edge of survival, the birth of a disabled child is greatly feared. It's seen as a terrible burden on the family, an extra mouth to feed. The child won't be able to help in the field, and neither will its mother, who will have to devote precious time to its care. Out of this fear, an ancient tradition has grown. The belief that such a child is a spirit child, an evil presence that must be destroyed before it threatens the survival of the family. It doesn't even need to be disabled. Any child in a family where things are going wrong can be branded as evil. And when this happens, elders in the community, known as concoction men, are called in to poison the child.
So, pokala hate do. Ta abiele bulon amaki ba shokia. Ayanga kariyela ayanga bulon ko yillerma. Bete baniyete adu shishirula.
Wala tapola ma beeram. Ma me doana. Ako adarne sala. Bete bete shishirula. Yeah, by saying lesson she done a year. I am our
I'm heading for a place known locally as the Evil Forest, because the bodies of spirit children have been buried here for centuries. These stones here are the only indication to show that evil children were buried here. The concoction men hide the bodies under the stones to prevent animals from digging them up. This forest remains green and still standing because the local people are afraid. They are scared that the evil forest would eat them up. Local NGOs have often used dialogue to talk to community members to stop this practice. Advocacy has been successful to some extent, but has not been able to eradicate this from the community. We are in a modern democratic Ghana now. Law enforcement must take over to stamp out this once and for all. But we can't find any record of anyone ever being arrested for what can only be described as a dreadful crime. I've come to police headquarters in Bolgatanga to meet the regional commander and find out why.
It is a very difficult thing to do. It is a very difficult thing to do. Even if you get the information, one, you should know where it is happening, who are behind, and who are in connivance, so that you can mount a sting operation and then get them. And it's unfortunate that we have no idea at all why this is happening. who are behind all this and why all this while they have not been arrested. As I explained, it is being done on the quiet and you will never know.
If the police can't find the evidence, maybe I can. My plan is to find some concoction men to invent a so-called problem child and see if they will diagnose it as an evil spirit. Then I aim to catch them in the act of trying to poison it. A colleague has agreed to let us use Kofi, his 18-month-old son, to play the part of my spirit child when the concoction men come to do the deed. But obviously, I can't risk his life, so at the last moment, Kofi will be switched with the contents of this suitcase. A similar-looking dummy of a child made from silicone by a movie props company in London. Exactly as I was looking for. My first step is to integrate into the community. I am moving to Sirugu, the historical heartland of the spirit child phenomenon, where I have rented this property. With separate buildings and 2 entrances, it's perfect for my plan. In 3 weeks of investigation, I've already met 14 individuals spread over an area the size of Lebanon, from northern Ghana to neighboring Burkina Faso, who admitted they'd killed spirit children before. 10 of these said they were willing to poison my child. Now it's time to do a deal with one of them, a broker who acts as a go-between. I've told him that since my son was born, nothing has gone right for me. I've lost money and my cars have broken down. Now we are meeting to make the final arrangements.
Ayelala, Mutil. Alema, Kanta Arik Nerala, a hand Kiki, Kanta Arik Sintaba, Tula, Saneralame, Saner, Devi, Tuma, Pai, Tinanala, et moi, Ntawabo. Morning. It was Tarictini Uni. I could keep a diamond. I keep.
We tell you when he consulted the oracles, what did they say about the child?
Two are single, but beer, but Honda part of it, but I really be
correct.
How much is it going to cost?
Nabula Bang, Mono, wait, okay, Nabula Bang, Sano, Desi. Nabula Bang. Put up piling a Sano, Desi.
Okay. But when you be a food, how many? Then you be a food. Mana, lab al Balama. Teacher, Bonnet were taught. It's going to 2 long. Macatati to Tofa, to do some poor. Engala, Parms.
Finally, he makes statements. Now, a tap on the stones in front of him signals confirmation from the oracle. Now we have the oracle's blessing. The broker agrees to contract a medicine man to prepare a poisonous concoction and administer it to my son. A child's life has now been sold for $40 plus 3 fowls. I'm deeply shocked. Had this been for real, then I'd just have become an accessory to a plot to murder my child. After sealing the deal with the broker, I'm moving on to the neighboring province of Bongo to meet with another group who've said they are willing to kill my child. This time, I'm dealing directly with the medicine man, and from what I have heard, he's more than ready to take on the job.
Hang on, I want to do it all.
I so could I need to only money here, M. to MB babune abonu futaro sun ka ere wa ambi yala sun ka
you one ma ho wele be ka kala mata sin ka tuma de tuma ni kala ka tu binga to dik ba na binga de ge ti yang hin ka ba ta ti wina nda na ba ti yesi ba ta ti da wa mara inga singa mo ka tunya ka yang wa dola ta in ko sho nyu ingala pokole wu ingala po se kan dola nyama da pa giela ya azona wana mwe bisa mwe bisa man tin ka pa ga nyaka dola nyaka gele yeta to nyu ko tin to mete ato nyu la ta nyu mwe okay so nyaka la to ne da sama agan bi ne jiya atan je balga shana ya han to yoro wana se kala ka bu akwa di ko albazon waya asen ko ka di yo le albazon de ti bi wita le nahara di tono de na kampinta ka ba hati mine te jar nyangla lokla waya ti mayanga tara.
I've now invited 2 groups of men to come to my rented property in 2 days' time and administer the concoction to my fictitious child. The medicine man's group is scheduled for first thing in the morning, the brokers for the afternoon. What they don't know is that local police officers will be hidden away in one of the buildings watching on TV monitors. But first, I need to prepare the house to receive them. As dawn breaks the next morning, the police arrive and park a safe distance from the house. Plainclothes officers will be monitoring every moment of the concoction men's activities, while 2 armed police in uniform will wait by the vehicle ready to take anyone arrested into custody. Kofi is also now with us so that the concoction men will believe our story. We move over to the house in 2s and 3s to avoid arousing suspicion. Our crack team is now assembled. 1 undercover reporter, 6 plainclothes police officers, and a baby. It's time to bring in our dummy child and place it on a makeshift bed in the secret camera room. He's now ready to take Kofi's place at the last minute. 3 officers take up positions outside, while the area crime officer and his 2 remaining colleagues sit in the monitoring room. From here, they will keep patient vigil and be ready to move in the moment the concoction men show clear intent to kill. Suddenly, we hear the medicine man and his accomplice approaching.
100 meters away, they are coming.
Yeah, you start.
I take the medicine man and his accomplice inside the house to show them the real child.
Oh.
So then I will take him into another room. Take him into another room. Then they will go into the room and do it. Suddenly, with the medicine man leaning over Kofi, I'm nervous about his safety. They clearly have no qualms about killing him. And it gets worse when they demand a closer look. Bringing him outside for them to inspect is sickening, but I need them to believe I am ready to follow through if my plan is going to work out.
That is not for them to.
I know, but let's do it inside.
When you try.
So let's do it in the inside.
There is no way I'm leaving Kofi there with them for a second. It's time to get him to safety. I pass him out through the window and into the secure arms of a waiting police officer. The medicine men built a fire and boiled some roots they dug up earlier this morning to create their deadly brew.
Time of Malga, the song, Mission Hambana for the Kaboto. The Mal Kalama. Can you actually get
looking for him. This is local man.
Finally, they are ready to administer the concoction. We make our way into the bedroom where they demand I hand over the child. They still don't know it's a replica.
Then let's move.
You are under arrest. You are not obliged to say anything unless you wish to do so. But whatever you say will be taken down and be given in evidence in a court of law against you. Is this also part of it?
Yes, that's this is the prepared one. And then this is where they prepared to put the baby. Yeah. To keep the baby.
To keep?
Yeah, for the baby to die. Even in handcuffs, one of the men is still hanging onto a dummy as forensics officers begin to take samples of the materials used to make the concoction.
No, but we'll take rubber.
When
Already, Munim say poisonous.
And the liquid the men had already prepared to administer to Kofi.
Let's get to some water.
Having gathered sufficient evidence, the police are now confident that the men both intended and attempted to murder a child. The police vehicle is ready and waiting to take them into custody. At the police station, the men are booked in and told to give up all their possessions, including their clothes, before being put into the cells. They will now wait here under lock and key until a court decides their fate. Back at the house, night has fallen, but the broker and his collaborators, the other group I invited to visit Kofi, have failed to show up. The police decide our evidence is sufficient to arrest them anyway. As soon as he is taken into custody, the broker agrees to guide us to the homes of his accomplices. First is the soothsayer who declared my fictitious child was evil. Then, to prevent anyone from warning him to escape, we creep up on the house of the medicine man who has been commissioned by the broker to prepare and administer the concoction. His payment for poisoning the child, this live fowl, is also discovered and taken as evidence. As they are loaded into the police wagon and taken to the cells, the broker and the soothsayer wear very different expressions to the first time we met. It looks to me like they only now understand that taking a child's life is a criminal act.
Spirit Child from 2013, a moving and powerful film. And to update us on this story, we're joined now by investigative journalist Anas Arimeyaw Anas, who's asked us not to show his identity. Great to have you in the studio with us, Anas. Could you first of all explain to viewers who may not have caught it from the film why you've got the face covering?
Well, I have always been in this traditional mask in my career, and that's to ensure security, and that's to help so people don't see that face that does that film.
How dangerous is your work?
Well, I guess this is not to point to me, but most African journalists who do investigations have series of dangers pointing at us. So you just have to be you and have to think that, how do I survive through the next story? And I have come out with beats that I wear. I'm sure my other colleagues, some in Nigeria, others in Malawi, have other styles of protecting themselves.
What sort of harassment have you faced when you're doing your work?
Well, generally, you would have people who would definitely want to point guns at you. Some would try to kidnap you. And we've had most of these happening. I mean, getting threats of death is normal. You know, legal suits, all those are. And this is not synonymous to me alone, but most of my colleagues on the continent suffer that.
Your mantra is to name and shame and jail. I mean, most journalists would be on board with the naming and shaming, but why do you feel it's so important to take it to that level where you want to see the people that you're reporting on pay for it, to face justice?
There's nothing more frustrating than doing a story on someone and walking on the same streets with that person. In fact, that's even more dangerous, and that can easily end the life of any journalist. So the days where we sit down and then say we have just published, we don't do stories for people to just read and smile in their bedrooms. We do stories that have impact on society. For me, that good story is that story that named, shamed, and jailed the bad guy. Mine can be unconventional. I testify in the court of law to make sure that the bad guys are put behind bars. And that has helped. So many people have gone to jail as a result of my work, and I'm proud of it.
If we look at the film that we've just seen, Spirit Child, I mean, it's a heartbreaking investigation. What happened to those concoction men? Did they go to jail?
Yes, they started the legal process, but you realize that they were too old. So by the time the process could finish, some of them just couldn't even make it to the law. So they had some sympathy. But the key thing that happened in that story is that it told the community that whoever you are, when you attempt to do some of these things, you are going behind bars. For the first time, those witch doctors were arrested and they were put before court. That sent a strong signal to all witch doctors to be careful, that when you're dealing with the life of a child, it's a completely different matter, and that we can't sit down for these children to be killed in the way they are being killed.
The former US President Barack Obama, he recognized you as a courageous journalist who risked his life to tell the truth. I mean, that's quite an extraordinary recognition to have. Do you think that your work is having lasting positive impact on Ghana?
Look, Africa is a third world country. We know the problems we have with our judiciary. We know the problems we have with our police force. People might think that I am controversial, but I'm saying that unlike the UK and the US, where journalists could do a story and the security agencies and judicial systems are stronger and could take up such issues, in Africa, we don't have that. We have institutions that lack basic amenities. So I see no reason why a reporter from any part of African continent would take one step to meet the security agencies halfway. The minute you are wasting, people die. That's the difference between stories that happen in the West and stories that happen in Africa.
Anas Arimeyaw Anas, very good to speak to you and to hear about the very brave work that you're doing. Thanks for joining us here on Rewind.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week's Rewind. If you want to catch any of the other films in the series, you'll find them on the Rewind page on the Al Jazeera website. But for now, until next time, goodbye.